there's not enough resources to patrol it. And to be honest, a lot of people who work for the railroad give a fuck less. It's always like the police that are hired, or it's depending on where you live. The rail cops can be way more serious, like in Florida or just different places in the middle of nowhere where people see you park your car and you go in, and the local authorities have to come. But as far as like bigger cities, if you've been into train yards in like Oakland, LA, even New York or Philly, no one gives a shit. It's a heyday. They'll never be able to do it. They've done things like raise the numbers higher, but even then, there's still reflectors that get painted over, and the railroad gets fined if the reflectors are painted over. So it's someone's job to put new reflectors on it every time it's painted, right? So it's essentially creating some weird little job for someone, but you can't get rid of it. It won't ever happen. There's just too many. You'd have to fence in everything. Fences cost so much money. Someone will cut the fence anyways. It would be literally impossible. People ride in on freights like from Mexico to, people are smart enough from Mexico to the United States to tape drugs under the trains and understand that, hey, that train will leave this time, end up here, grab the drugs, right? Is a free mode of transportation for a lot of things. But yeah, it will never end.
What's been your experience with rail cops?
Nothing crazy. Only earlier on, before New York City became this playground per se, a lot of the train yards just weren't actually cool to go to. Freights were, the yards are always considered burning, scolding hot by all the OGs. Like, oh yeah, we don't even go there anymore, right? Before all that, there was definitely people cared a lot more. New York has two, CSX brings in the cars from out of state, and they give them to the local line. The local line didn't care. CSX cared. They complained that all the cars are getting painted all the time. Those people probably don't work for the railroad anymore, considering the fact that all the cars in New York City that come in get blasted every single fucking day, and then they leave with graffiti on them. So yeah, they did build like a little thing, and then Vandal Squad had to get involved, and that was that. But that was a long time ago. Actually, one of the workers the other day, talking to them about how they actually need help for people working there. They're like, we can't even find people to work the local line here. They have like a bunch of drug problems. We had to fire 8 people. I'm like, Jesus, like this couldn't be like an easier job to do, and actually a cool job. You get to be outside all day. You get to be like around like heavy. I don't know why people would think they are above that, but it's actually good pay too. By 20 years, you can be making 3 figures just working for the railroad, connecting brakes, driving a train around. Yeah, it's not the most like exciting, but I mean, at least like you're outside, you're like working with your hands, right? It's absolutely repulsive, to be honest. I cannot stand it. It drives me insane, actually. It's only here, and it's been the last maybe 6 or 7 years in New York where this popularity of like, I don't know where it comes from, but just I'm gonna go hit a car, and you don't really understand what you're doing. You don't understand what you're painting over. You don't even understand what you're painting. And thank God a lot of people in New York don't really give a fuck about freight train. I don't want to waste my paint on that bullshit. Yeah, that's great. Keep that motif going. Keep painting the streets. Get your name. Why wouldn't you move to New York and paint the greatest city where graffiti was born? Get your name up in the streets. Why wouldn't you do that first? Develop a style, practice, and then you're just gonna go fucking hit freights. The ball game's changed, in '93, freights would go by and people would be begging for fucking graffiti to be on a train. Now you'd be lucky to find one clean car, and there's people just capping stuff. Uh, yeah, the amount of work that some people go in, and I was lucky enough to be surrounded by people when I was getting into trains that were mean to me. I think that's the greatest tool someone could do to someone else, because if you're trying to do this thing, graffiti or whatever, and people don't let you in, that really separates you from the 10 of your other friends that are trying to do it, and that's going to earn your respect, right? If you keep coming back, you keep trying to get better, you keep coming back with more paint, that says a lot about you, right? But this day and age, when you're like, that's wrong, you can't do that, then you're the bully, you're the bad guy. I don't have a fucking problem being that at all. I don't have a problem saying what needs to be said, doing what needs to be done. People need to get painted over. They need to be told they can't come here anymore. They need to be told all of that type of stuff, or they're never gonna learn. You can't just do what you always want. It's a huge it's a huge disgrace for all the people who have fucking put in the time and effort to pave the way.
Yeah.
And all the generations after us need to do is just follow up on that. It's the bar is so low. Just pick up your cans before you leave after you paint a what I don't understand why you wouldn't do that. I
Mm.
mean, that bar is so low. Anywhere else in the world, you'd get punched in the head. But here in these bigger cities, it's just like, yeah, like do what you want, and then you can't say anything because there's then whatever, and it's just like I don't know. I don't. It's not gonna really fly under my watch. It just we gotta keep it rolling for all the people who like really set these rules for freight train graffiti, and they aren't really made to be broken because the rules already worked. I mean, just keep your yard clean. Don't let workers see you. You could be cool with workers, just be caught. Just all these simple things that people just don't follow because they think they're in like a bigger city like New York or Philadelphia or whatever. And honestly, I'm just getting tired of it, to be honest.
You see it a lot in New York specifically.
Yeah, everywhere you go, you see it, up and down. You see it, and it's just getting annoying. I just don't understand why people would want to waste their time, doing that. You could tell you can judge a book by by its cover when you could tell someone's really trying to do this thing properly. Their bag is packed properly, they're dressed properly. If you're in there with a skateboard and headphones and like 12 beers, it's like you're already not welcome, right? Like that's just bullshit. Um, People are gonna probably watch this and be like, "Well, people can do whatever they want." Well, I'm telling you that they can't. It's just as simple as that. That there's a people don't do that in the clean train world. There's so many rules. The people they've gone above and beyond to craft a system for clean trains that they won't even talk about. It's just so much more than even this. If you want to throw your cans on the ground, your caps on the ground, just paint a gate, paint a roof, leave your cans up there, do that shit. But there is an art to taking care of the freight world, right? And it's gone to hell because the people who have crafted this are now too old with kids to like really give a fuck and be out there fighting and being like, you can't fucking do that. And it's not going to work through Instagram and it's not going to do this. You really need to be out there like doing that in person. And then the people that they put under their wing are like, well, we've had enough. We took a beating from them. All right, just do whatever you want. And that's kind of what I'm noticing, that there's like this generational gap in the freight world where it's like, this mid school, you could say, is like, oh, it's not that important. We learned that like it'll never get us nowhere, and painting 1,000 cars a year isn't gonna like get us any money, but you don't do it for that. And people who aren't, they aren't like trying to really live and breathe freight culture probably should just back away, and they should just go, like, this really isn't for me. I'm not trying to like come up here and do the best I can every time I come up here. I'm not trying to be the most up on freights. If I don't really like trains, I don't even know why they're here. I don't know what they carry. I don't know what these numbers mean. I don't know why this light is flashing. If you don't want to learn that and you don't want to respect that, then you should just see yourself out of it immediately.